Silver is a fantastic thing to own. It is wonderful. There is nothing quite like feeling and hearing the jingle jangle of silver, especially owning and holding a 100-ounce bar. But as an investment vehicle, it is a very difficult one to make money on. And whilst this video is going to be very controversial, I do want to present my opinions today on why I think silver is actually a pretty poor investment. Hello everybody, Backyard Bullion here, and a very warm welcome to you all joining me for this week's Precious Metal Ramble, which I think is going to be a pretty contentious one, as we are going to be addressing the topic head on that I think silver is actually a pretty bad investment. Now, I'm putting the word investment in inverted commas there because there are a whole host of different reasons why people might look to own and buy silver. For me, I'm very much a subscriber to the idea that silver is a wealth preservation tool. It's inflationary insurance against the value of your currencies. It's real, it's physical, you can hold it and feel it, and it's worth something. It's not just numbers on a screen. But as an investment vehicle to look to make money, it is most certainly a difficult one at best and a poor choice at worst, certainly compared with a lot of the other options that there might be out there: stocks, shares, cryptocurrencies, even other collectibles and things like that. There are a whole host of different avenues by which you could perhaps look to make money better than silver. And I can talk about this firsthand as not just a stacker of silver. As you can see, I'm very, very keen on silver still, despite the fact that I'm making a somewhat negative video about it here today. But I can also talk firsthand about trying to make money with silver, as I do that for a living. I sell my poured silver. It is hard. You have to put a lot of work into the ownership of your silver and actually, put real hard graft in to get something out at the other end. And that is not really what an investment vehicle should be. Now, with every video that I do where I am somewhat critical of silver or negative towards silver, there will of course be a whole bunch of people who'll come out the woodwork with their negative comments and thumbs downs. I guarantee you there'll be a bunch of thumbs downs on this video. And now that's fine. I am not here to criticize or belittle anybody else's opinion on if they think silver is a great investment. In fact, I'd love to know your reasons why perhaps you think differently to myself about why you think silver is a great investment. But from my perspective, what I have seen and understood from owning precious metals over this last 5 or 6 years now of actually doing so is that it is a difficult one to actually make money with. And I've subscribed to a whole bunch of different channels and blogs and articles out there that will show a whole host of different opinions, some very biased, some not so much, but a little bit lacking in research. I have formulated my own thoughts and opinions based on all of those, and I have decided what is right for me, and that might not be what is right for you, and that is absolutely fine. And in fact, one of the overarching messages of my entire career here on YouTube has been the ability to work out what is right for you is going to be what actually makes you the most return over time. So that's the kind of underlying message here of the reasons why I am somewhat negative towards silver. Now, one of the biggest things about silver that I've been negative on is that owning physical silver is more expensive certainly than buying it in paper form or just having a tracker against it. I'm going to put that 100-ounce bar down. It is not an easy thing to hold up to a camera for a long time. But silver as an investment tool is a difficult one to own physically. You have to actually buy it. You have to physically get it. It is going to cost you more than spot price. You're very much beholden to whatever prices are out there. And I did a video last week about selling silver and how it can be very difficult and how actually it would probably be worth starting a seller profile to really kind of get an idea of what might be the options for you out there. And I have talked about exit strategies before. And that's one of the key things about silver investing, is that really to get out of silver, to get out of physical silver, you need to have some form of plan really to do that. If you are investing in paper silver, trackers and things like that, then it is less important, but you are of course beholden somewhat to spot price. And even myself, who's not necessarily that much of a subscriber to things like conspiracy theories and the whole manipulated market, even I will agree that to a certain extent the markets for silver are manipulated in that they are controlled by the value of the dollar, and the dollar is probably one of the most manipulated currencies out there. And we've seen, even in this last 5 years, so much change in the world. We've had trade wars, we've had Brexit, we've had different leaders around the world, which have been more contentious for others, economical issues raising their heads. We've seen the end of austerity and then the beginning, of course, of the pandemic, which has caused huge uncertainty in economic circles going forward. Yet silver still has not shot the moon, and there's all of these channels out there that have been talking for so long about silver being this asset that you can use to buy a house with a monster box of silver at some point in the future. No, that is not the way that I look at it. That is not the reasons I buy my silver. And to quote the famous phrase from Del Boy in Only Fools and Horses, this time next year we'll be millionaires, Rodders. It's not the vehicle to do that by any stretch of the imagination. It really isn't. And a lot of people compare the successes of other assets to what silver might do. And a lot of people will think that cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin, the success that they've seen, will be followed by silver over time. I am very much not in that subscription box, I have to say. I don't know a great deal about cryptocurrencies, but I know enough to know that, of course, if you got in at the right times, it's fantastic. But you could have also lost an awful lot of money. At least with silver, one of the reasons I buy it is that it will always have a certain inherent value. It is a protection asset. But at the same time, I will also acknowledge that things like cryptocurrencies have been a really good investment tool for people. They've been able to make a significant amount of cash on their investments, and that is not something that you can easily say has been done for silver. In fact, a lot of the prices that we've seen on silver right now are dictated by dealers, are dictated by the fact, I knew there was a barber somewhere in here, are dictated by the fact that there are a huge number of premium pieces of silver being sold right now by dealers. The shortage, the silver squeeze that's supposedly out there, it is very difficult to get hold of your physical silver for a good price right now. And that is another reason why I think silver is actually a pretty bad investment. For us in the United Kingdom, we have got, of course, a lot of the taxes involved with silver as well. And there are a whole host of different barriers to really getting a good return on silver from that perspective. Now, in terms of actually making money on silver, if you can actually do that, I do want to address that part of it here. So prior to really the poured silver side of my business taking off and me really kind of quitting my day job, supposedly, I mean, I was basically doing a part-time day job as a self-employed consultant, but I quit that to focus on the poured silver side of things. But before that really took off, I was doing little bits of flipping. So basically buying silver from Europe and then selling it here in the United Kingdom for small profits. And you can definitely do that. There are ways that you can do that. And as an investment vehicle to make, even if you were making £3 an ounce on a piece of silver, that's a really good return, especially if you're looking at the buy price of it at the time when I was doing this of around £150 an ounce. If you were making £30 after postage and all of the fees and everything on this 10-ounce silver round, that's a pretty good return. That, nobody's going to belittle the fact that you've made a pretty tasty return, but you have to put in the work for it. You have to find the right avenues to sell. You have to post it. You have to actually take the risk of posting. Some of them, a bit sketchy whether they arrived or not, and it is possible, but it is also hard. Compared with a lot of other investment, tools out there, stocks, shares, silver most certainly has been a pretty poor performer. And I've only got to look at the stocks and shares market, which at the same time that I would love to say are perfect and I have made boatloads of cash on them, which undoubtedly I have, because the stocks and shares markets are at a all-time kind of high right now, which is really confusing, I think, for a lot of people, because you look at the world right now and the pandemic that we're in and the economic fallout, which is surely still to come, and you've got to think, surely the financial markets, the stocks and shares markets, they're not really in the right place that they should be, and they are incredibly volatile. And we saw a huge, massive drop last year from fall from grace almost from these stocks and shares markets, but they've recovered, and that's great if you've got in. And I've got certain investments which have really done incredibly well. We're talking 50, 60, 70% returns in a year. In fact, one of the best was EasyJet, which until last week was up over 90%. It's a lot less now because we've had some negative news about potentially reopening travel and things like that. But the point here is that there are so many different ways that you can make increase your wealth, and silver as an investment vehicle to doing that is actually a really poor one. It's very difficult to do. We haven't even talked about the physical ownership of silver. Now, of course, like if you're vaulting silver, if you're buying through places like Bullion Vault or wherever, you're going to be paying storage fees. Yes, they will be, you'll be buying your silver at lower prices at the sort of entry point there. But the silver fees, the storage fees and the transaction fees are not insurmountable by any stretch, and it is always something to consider. Whereas with physical, at least, you don't necessarily have to actually pay money to store it. But conversely, quite a lot of people will actually pay a considerably larger amount to store and own their physical silver than they will to buy it through a bullion vault. Just buying a safe, for example, is going to cost you an awful lot. Certainly, depending on your budget, if not less, if not more, considerably more than vaulting fees. So loads of different things to consider. Physical ownership, postage of silver when you're selling it at the other end. Do you put it in with the post? Do you take it to your local coin shop? What price are you going to get if you sell it directly to a dealer? All of these things are against silver as an investment vehicle. Now, I said at the start of this video that I'm very much a subscriber to the idea that silver is a wealth preservation tool. It is something that I will buy and I will own to preserve the buying power that I've got. And I think it is an important thing to have. So whilst this video is slightly negative towards silver as an investment vehicle, I do think that silver is actually an incredibly good medium by which to balance out one's portfolio. I do think gold as well is in fact better. And a lot of you who've been following my channel for a while, you'll understand my lure to gold. It is wonderful. I love it, and I think it is the single best thing to own for the long term. And a lot of the silver that I have will actually be means to buy more gold down the line. But that doesn't mean that I still think that silver is a good tool to have for anybody. And I do think it is an important one to have in any investment portfolio. How much silver and how much gold people should own is completely down to their own volition, of their own circumstances, and it is going to be different for every single person out there. So if you are looking at silver for the first time, if you're a brand new person to this world of silver investing, it is always worth looking at all of the different opinions out there, the different viewpoints out there. I know mine might be very different to perhaps a lot of the ones that maybe you've already subscribed to. There are a lot of different channels which are always overtly positive about silver and talk about it being a tool to get you very rich indeed. But I think it's always important to remember that the only single way that silver or gold is going to make you a millionaire is by the devaluation of the currency that it's valued in. And that is not a good thing. If you have gone full whack into silver and gold, then great, which I would not recommend to anybody. I think putting every single asset that you own into silver and gold is a recipe for disaster. If you are found up the brown creek without a paddle, you are going to be losing money. But if it does happen, you will be very thankful that you own some silver and gold, which is why I think it is an important part for every portfolio. But I am very much not a subscriber to the idea that it will shoot the moon anytime soon. And if we can just look at the events of this last year, I think it's fairly evident that there are a lot of different barriers that will make this impossible. $1,000 an ounce silver is going to be impossible because that would require essentially the dollar to collapse. And I just can't see that being allowed to happen. And I said in this video as well that I think that silver is to some extent manipulated, but it's not necessarily that the silver price is manipulated by the banks, by JP Morgan, by all of that. I'm not really a subscriber to that kind of conspiracy theory, but I am a subscriber to the idea that, the dollar, the pound, the euro, all of the big currencies around the world are essentially manipulated by their debt management. They have so many zeros on the end of their debt that another zero really makes very little difference. And they will not be allowed to fail. It's too big to fail. That's the ironic thing. It will deflate, it will inflate, sorry I should say. The value of the currency will change, and it has changed over time over this last 20, 30, 40 years. But it will not go to a million. It will not. It will not. And I don't subscribe to that. If I'm wrong, which I very might well be at some point in the future, then so be it. I have silver, I have gold. I will be very happy that I am protected, and that's the most important thing. But I don't rely on it. I don't buy it for that reason. So anyway, those are my thoughts on why I think silver is a bad investment. I would love to know your thoughts and opinions on this subject, so please feel free to comment down below. All I will say is be please respectful of mine and other people's opinions. And if you are just going to be an obtuse troll that's going to call me names and call me stupid or any other expletives, then you're going to get a one-way ticket to Banville. It's just that simple. I am very much for freedom of speech, but be respectful of mine and other people's opinions. If you do want to have a fair, healthy, balanced debate about this, then please comment down below if you think otherwise, and I will engage with you appropriately. But if you're just going to name call, one-way ticket to Banville. That is the simplest way of dealing with trolls. Otherwise, if you've enjoyed this video, if you've enjoyed my presentation of it, then please make sure that you hit that thumbs up button. It really does help everything that we do here on YouTube. Even if you haven't enjoyed this video and you want to put a thumbs down on it, that also helps the YouTube algorithm. So all of these negative Nancy trolls out there that just come on and put a thumbs down because they've seen a negative silver thumbnail or title. Great, love it. Thank you so much. Otherwise, have a great week ahead. If you have enjoyed this video and you want to see videos like this in the future and you're not subscribed to the channel, then make sure you hit that subscribe button. Otherwise, we'll see you on the next one. As always, please make sure that you like, share, comment, and subscribe for more.